This is Rising from the Shadows. What would your life look like if you stopped second-guessing yourself, stopped playing small, and finally broke free from the cycles that have kept you stuck? Well, that's what the Ignite Momentum Practicum is all about. It's a 6-week transformational coaching experience designed to help you break through people-pleasing, self-doubt, and codependency once and for all. And here's the best part. You get to choose your path. You can matriculate through the one-on-one accelerator. It's private, high-touch coaching, you and me one-on-one. Weekly breakthrough calls, a custom action plan, deep mindset work, and real-time support to help you reclaim your power and rebuild your confidence. Option 2 is the group intensive. This is where transformation meets community. Weekly live sessions with a cohort of like-minded individuals, hot seat coaching, Q&A, bonus trainings, and a space where you're truly seen and supported without judgment. So whether you want personalized guidance or collective energy, the Ignite Momentum Practicum gives you the tools, structure, and support to stop circling the same patterns and start building unstoppable momentum. Ready to take the next step? Schedule your momentum call now at ignitingmomentum.co. That's ignitingmomentum.co. You'll find all the details there. Welcome back to Rising from the Shadows, the podcast where we explore the journey of healing from trauma, reclaiming power, and thriving beyond the shadows of our past. Our guest today is Amy Parnell, and Amy is here to share her experiences in the hopes that it will inspire you to take actions towards a life that's worth living. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to, just share my experience, my journey, and hoping that, people will be able to take something from, what I've been through and empower themselves, to, hey, just keep, pushing forward and, just, try at least to have, God in some way in your life to, help you, with those experiences. So, it doesn't stop because that relationship has ended, we just gotta, just continue to take one day at a time. So, yeah.
Well, I'm certainly appreciative of you being here. I think we should just go right in that direction you're going. I'd like to open the door for the telling of your story. So can you share a little bit about where you are today? What was the journey that brought you here? And where do you wish to be in the future?
Sure. So where I'm at today is I'm still actively working on healing. I have actually in the last year, decided to choose life. Decided to not allow that relationship or actually that marriage that I was in to continue to weigh me down anymore. It really took a huge chunk of my life that I had to get my my mental right. If it wasn't actually for a few family members, one in particular was an aunt that was like, "Hey, no more," and a really good friend of mine, my best friend, and of course, God. I don't know, where I would be. It was a lot of traumatic things that ended up happening that I just said, "Hey, I cannot continue living like this." I was didn't know if I was coming or going. And so,
Yeah.
then I'll, segue into, what, brought me to, just all these, traumatic events was, I was in a long-term relationship, where, I think, sorry, at first everything goes, well, you're thinking, hey, this is my person. Well, you got to pay attention to the red flags. In the beginning, I saw things, but I just kind of, let it go, and then, just kept it moving. you got to pay attention to the first lie. That was my, first red flag. You got to pay attention to, the way that the family is treating you. Look at the family dynamics. I say that in every video.
Yeah.
And so, with this person, I realized over time, there was a lot of emotional manipulation, future faking,
Yeah.
of a life that we were never
Never
going to.
occurs.
Yes, yes. It was the white picket fence, the children, it's all the things that, I had said that I wanted from her and, from us, for us as a whole. And that never came into fruition. And it was actually really, really frustrating dealing with that. And then I was the type of person that kept quiet about things, but I also realized that I was frustrated, really frustrated with the lack of effort, the selfishness,
Mm.
the date nights and stuff like that. I was doing the cooking, the cleaning, it was really frustrating. And of course you're going to see that these type of people do not have your back. Matter of fact, I was discovering left and right that I was being talked about, to her family. And it's like, why, like, why are you doing these things? You could come to me, but they don't do that. And things just got really bad. Over time, the fighting, it was always arguments that I was blamed for. I was apologizing for things that weren't even my fault. And so with that becomes frustrating, and you start yelling and carrying on. And I won't say that I was perfect. I don't want to make it like I was, because I at this point I had gotten so frustrated with this person. So, over time, what ends up happening, especially with me, I noticed that, um, I noticed that some things were off. And, I asked her, hey, what was going on? And, of course, she wouldn't tell me. I do not recommend doing any kind of marital counseling. Do not
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
do not, because
Mm.
they learn to turn it around on you as if you are the problem and
Mhm.
you are the fault. And I one day I was sitting here, and a light bulb went off, and I was like, wait a minute, that whole counseling session, I mean, because we were doing counseling for almost 3 years,
Mm.
and I realized that I was the one that was at fault in every session.
Mm.
And and I would
Which
ask,
is
what
like
is
statistically improbable.
right. And so I noticed that, and I was like, wait a minute, wait, I can't be the problem with everything. And so I don't recommend doing counseling, because they know how to manipulate even the counselor, and make you look
Yeah.
like the issue. So that happened, and then I ended up discovering that she was cheating. And I was
How did
just
you
like,
discover that? Did you do a little digging, or it just came up?
Something, I don't know why, but something told me to look at an Android watch that I had brought her.
Mm.
I was looking through the messages, and they were very flirtatious. That's how it started off. And then she lied and said that she wanted friends. And I'm like, but these are not friend conversations. I said, you don't speak like that to such and such, or, a couple of other friends. You don't speak like that to them. And she's like, oh, no, it's just for friends. And I kind of left it alone for a while. Actually, previous to that, I had discovered on a dating app that she said she wanted friends. So that was about 6 months, 7 months prior. And that ended up in a big argument between she and I, because previous to that, it was like, hey, these conversations, this is a dating app. This is not for friends. So I asked her to delete it. The counselor, said, hey, you need to delete it. So she supposedly deleted it. And then I end up finding out again that she re-downloaded it. And we got in a big argument about that. Then she said she deleted it again. I left it alone. And then flash forward to like 6, 7 months later, I discovered on an Android watch that she was really, the conversations were just like very flirtatious. I actually asked to meet the person, because I'm like, hey, if this is your friend, I want to meet them. So I did ended up meeting the person. And I kind of knew at dinner that something was off, but I let them play that, hey, I'm stupid, I don't know anything.
Mm.
So I think this was like April of 2022, I discovered she was cheating. So I was just like, oh, it was just really bad. And I won't say that I was not petty with that situation. I too ended up cheating. Should I have? No. That was all, I guess out of revenge to this person. I shouldn't have did that because I ended up hurting myself more. I would not recommend doing that, trying to seek revenge, so after that, things just got really bad, really, really bad. And then after that, I just kind of, just started seeing where she was pulling more and more away from me. I tried to do the counseling again, and it just, from there, it just goes downhill. Nothing, it doesn't get any better. I had also discovered that she was cheating with someone else. And it just kind of, just got worse. And we tried to live here together, couldn't even live in the same apartment together because it just got more and more, just volatile. We were both, just at a really bad place. And eventually, we ended up having a physical fight. And of which, because I saw that she was like texting someone, and I'm like, hey, that's disrespectful, stop. And from there she ends up, spitting in my face. And once those kind of physical things continue to happen, you have to leave. You can't be, it can get really ugly. So yeah, she ends up spitting in my face. And I ended up, just leaving, taking a walk to cool things down. And I just noticed after that, she came back, but she was still trying to blame me for spitting in my face.
Mm.
Well, if you didn't, look at the phone or take the phone, and I'm like, but you still don't spit in anybody's face.
There is
So,
no scenario that they're 100% responsible for a situation. There will never be a scenario.
right, right, right. So it's like, and that's what I noticed. It's like we could take a lot of responsibility or accountability for our actions, but they will not, and they will place everything on you. So the situation just, like I said, got worse. I had to end up kicking her out because it just got worse and worse and worse throughout time. Nothing got any better. Let's see. Then after that, that's when the financial abuse started happening. We had a joint account. I'm still here in the apartment. The person I was with, turns off the internet because she knows, like that time was like I wasn't really working. I was doing like a couple of hours. She turns off the internet. She reverses the charges in the joint account. And I'm like, why would you do that? So my best friend asked her, why would you do that? Oh, well, nobody told her to pay the bill. And I'm like, okay. So my best friend left it alone. Then it was something with the rent where she would pay half of her portion late every month.
Mm.
Another form of financial abuse because they want you to lose everything. They don't want
Yeah.
you, like, if they can't have it, they want you to lose it.
Yeah.
So I dealt with that and then she turned off my lights. So I had to, my family's like, hey, just go put it in your name. Don't worry about it. Just keep record of what is going on. So I had said, hey, you turn off my lights. She said, well, if you put it in your name, you wouldn't be in the dark. So, these little things, you're going to get angry.
Yeah.
And so I know at that point, I had just become very frustrated. My language with her was not very good at that point because you get fed up from everything in the relationship to the end. It's like, what is your problem? And they just don't, these type of people, they will purposely do things to make you look like you are the perpetrator. You're the issue. So um, then I had to end up dealing with, she filed a restraining order on me. I had to speak to a lawyer. The lawyer had asked me, well, what happened, between you two? And that's the other thing too. They will file restraining orders on you. And, that's also to add to their narrative. So the restraining order was just saying like things that happened in the marriage. And it's like, wait a minute, you were attacking me, you know?
Mm.
So you deal with that also. So that ended up being thrown out in court. You have to be very careful when it is the end with these people because
Yeah.
they will make you out to be you are the most horrible person. It's like I'm protecting myself, or you
Yeah.
might have cussed at them or whatever. They're going to make you look like mm,
Let me ask you a
mm,
question because I think that's so important because I remember when I physically saw the mask drop. Like,
mhm,
I mean, I I swear to you, it was
mhm,
like I don't know if you ever
mhm,
watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer
mhm,
or Angel
mhm.
back in the day. Like
Yeah,
the vampires would walk around with regular faces
right.
and they
Yeah.
attack, it just contorts.
Hmm.
Like
Yep.
that is what I saw.
Hmm. Yep.
And
Yeah.
then the situation was something financial that they
Yep.
were responsible for and refused to pay. I
Yep.
ended up paying myself.
Yep.
And it was like up until then, um, they were very trying to keep it going. Let's do
Yep.
counseling. Let's do this. Let's do
Yep.
that.
Hmm.
They had written me a long letter and
Right.
saying about like kind of apologizing, but not
Right.
really, like starting to blame your childhood for being the way you are and yada yada.
Oh
Um,
yes, yes. That's what exactly what happened to me is
mhm,
that when she attacked me for the umpteenth time, she wrote me because I had at that point I had gotten sick of being attacked.
mm,
And I spoke to a former friend about it, and the friend talked to her about, hey, attacking, like it was wrong. And that particular time when she had attacked me, it was because I had held her accountable. It was Valentine's Day. Didn't get me anything. And I was hurt because every
wow.
year I would go out of my way. Christmases, holidays, birthdays, always go out of my way. Every holiday, birthday, I was always hurt or slighted about something because
Yeah.
she wouldn't do anything. So this particular holiday, I was like, no, I'm going to say something. That's when everything had, just combusted. And that's when I saw the darkness in the eyes, and I was like, what? I didn't know what I was dealing with.
Yeah.
And it this and saw it a couple of times, and it's not a very nice sight to see.
No,
So
it is
yeah.
so hard and it's so fast. It's like
Yes.
it's like a flash and then back.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
back.
yeah,
It is.
yeah.
I feel like the quickness is scarier than the look itself.
Right,
Like how
right.
fast they can go into there. Like there
Y-
was a situation where she was clearly performatively crying, and it
Right.
was the second time she had done it in an instance, and so I
Yeah,
caught it that what was happening. So I
right.
pushed forward the box of
Hmm.
tissues towards
Right.
her, and she gave me that look very
Yes.
quickly.
Yeah.
But the crying was over after that,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's so. First of all, I've talked to a lot of people
Hmm.
over the past few months. You're the first person that I'm talking to
Hmm.
who is sharing the specific gift issue that they
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
year after
Yeah.
year, birthday
Hmm.
after birthday,
Yeah.
promise never given.
Mhm. Yeah.
Would print out. They
Yeah.
would last minute. They would print something out, say like, "Hey, this is what I'm going to get you." Never do
Hmm.
that.
Right.
You specifically say like, "Hey, this is the gift that I want."
Right.
And for me,
Hmm.
it was like, "I want us to take tennis lessons together." And it was the
Right.
same thing every year. What do you want for this? What do you want? And like the
Mm.
same thing that I've been asking.
Right.
And our very last anniversary that we celebrated together, I just could not believe I didn't see there was anything wrong with what was happening in that
Mhm.
time.
Right.
I had planned an entire day of activities with us.
Mhm.
I'd
Mhm.
made like uh, oh gosh, what do you call it? An itinerary
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
times, the places we're going, and under each spot was like a little limerick that I
Mhm.
so it was
Right.
cute at night, and then it went from us getting a mani pedi to stopping to
Right.
get ice cream to going to the pool and having champagne and dinner and yada. And it
Right.
was all very cute. Everything
Mhm.
rhymed. I
Mhm.
bought us sashes that said "Happy
Oh,
Anniversary,"
cute, cute, cute,
and all
cute.
of that.
Yeah. Uh-huh,
But
cute.
prior to that, like, and that day actually fell on our anniversary. The
Mm-hmm.
actual Saturday
Yeah.
was the 12th of August.
Mm-hmm.
And she tried to get me to do it another day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
why? Like, it's on the weekend. It's the
Mm.
actual day that we got married, and we actually can do something. It's not during the
Yeah.
week. I
Mhm.
had to beg to have it done on
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
day, and I
Yeah.
still wasn't like, "What's the matter with you?" Because it was
Right.
so. You're so trained that this is their normal behavior that
Yes.
the bar
Mhm.
is so low and you don't catch
Right.
this. But
Right.
tell,
Right.
tell me a little bit more about the gifts because there's something very cruel about that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So with the gifts, it just I would tell her, what I, wanted, and she would say, "Oh, well, get the card and you can purchase it yourself." And I was
Mm,
like, "No, no, it's my birthday or anniversary or whatever. You can get it." And she just would not. I mean, it was two specific items, a pair of Yeezy, like back in the day when they were pretty popular, a pair of Yeezy slides and or sneakers and basketball tickets. This woman for 10 years, 10
mm,
plus years,
mm.
would never got them. Never got these. And every birthday, Christmas, I always went out of my way. I would get them early for her. And because I was so excited to give them to her, I would just
Yeah.
give them to her
It's
early.
so hard to keep that secret. Like, I just want to give you a gift.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would take her anywhere that she wanted to go, anywhere that she want anything she wanted to do. I would do that for her. But I noticed that she would never do it for me, and it was almost like I was being punished or I was undeserving of the same reciprocation. And it's like, I'm human at the end of the day, no matter what my sexuality is. I am human. I have feelings, and I would be hurt every single time. And
Mm,
it got to the point where I wasn't saying anything. I was suppressing all of those
yeah.
emotions from being slighted. I was hurt. I was completely hurt. And the gift giving, no, they do not think. I remember a friend had said, had spoken to the person that I was with and said, "Hey, why aren't you, it's a holiday, whatever, why didn't you get the gift?" She lied to this friend and said that it was, I need to work on my credit. And I'm like, my credit is fine. What are you talking about? I was like, my credit, and it's like, what does credit have to do with you, getting, a gift? It doesn't have to, it could be a gift from the Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
It's the, it's just the thought that counts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when these things were occurring, the last, like, maybe before, maybe the third or fourth time that she had attacked me, she had given me these cards, and the cards were stating, that you're worth more than precious gold, and
Yeah. Yeah.
or something, and something like she, if I was patient with her a little while longer, she
Oh my
would
God. Those
give
exact same words.
yeah, give
Those
me the
exact same
world.
words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give me the world, and I didn't deserve for her to be putting her hands on me. And but the thing that I still look at in those cards is that they were just words. Because when I asked her why did she say that, oh no, I don't know, it was something to say, something to write. And I just looked at her and I was just like, what? And I that's all I could say. And it was hurt, pain after pain after pain. And then I was expected from her enabling family, from her,
Hmm.
to keep quiet.
Yeah.
I remember my ex-mother-in-law coming to me and asking me to take something off of social media that I had shared from my experience,
Mhm.
to take it down because people, whatever, in their country, whatever, were asking questions and they saw it.
Answer
I
the
don't.
questions.
Yeah,
Answer the
right,
question.
right. Tell them what your child was doing, and of course not. And but you know what? The thing I should have recognized, and I should have saw how other people were being treated. I was not going to be treated any differently. And although it hurt, I had been with that family for years,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it hurt. my mental was questioned from one of the enablers, which was a brother of hers. Had said that I needed medication, and
Mhm.
and the type of position that this particular sibling had, they had no business even being in what was going on. I had
Mhm.
told them multiple times to mind your business.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they didn't mind their business. So at that point, I had had enough. The person I was with, you'll notice too that they will not come and pick up their things. They will purposely
Mm,
leave them. And that's what happened. She would not pick up our things. I kept asking one of the cousins, I said, hey, can you come and get her stuff? So I had to pack it up. That was the if you could have saw how she left this apartment, threw things around, refused to, to come be a woman and pack up your things, which showed me coward behavior.
yeah.
Um, so I had to pack it all up. A friend of mine was here, had me pack up some stuff. So the first set of things, a friend of mine, we packed up that stuff. I put it in an Uber, I took it, I gave it to her. Then the second round of stuff, I gave a lot of stuff to her cousin. But I started noticing every time I had to pack things up, my nervous system, my anxiety would shoot through the
Hmm.
roof
Hmm.
and I would feel sick. And I said to my a friend at the time, I said, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what's wrong with me. I I'm telling you, it's something with the nervous system with them that
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I was
It was the
so
first time in my life that I needed medication, and I've gone through traumatic things before. It was
yeah,
the first
yeah,
time my nervous
yeah,
system was fried.
yeah, yep, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was lashing out at people. I didn't trust anybody. I was going through it because of that relationship, and because of the cheating, because of my name being slandered. And another thing that they do too is to the people that they're messing around with, like the supplies,
Mhm.
those supplies, they know what you look like, they know where you live. One of them I confronted, and don't please, no one do like I did. Is like I told the person, hey, you know what, pull up to, where I live, pull up. And I was like, that
Mhm.
was very very foolish of me, because I'm like, wait a minute, why would I want to fight over somebody?
Yeah.
Let that person go. Do not fight over that person. But I noticed these type of people with these type of characteristics, they want you to fight over them. and
Right.
and
Right.
yep, right. And
Right.
I had said to her, I said, hey, I told the person, and I saw this smirk on her face. I said, but
Hmm.
no, no,
That
no.
smirk, the smirk. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I was like, but you know what, I didn't. I said, I'm not fighting over you. So then I kind of noticed, like, she got a little. I was like, I'm not gonna fight over you. It's like, that's not even me.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with that, because it they want you to chase and fight and show people, like, hey, that, oh, this person is crazy and
Yeah.
unstable. I
Yep.
mean, that's
Yep.
basically what I was called by, one of the enablers, that I was crazy, unstable, that I needed meds. And
Yeah.
I will never do that again. I
So
will
I was
never.
lucky in that situation. I didn't realize then that I was lucky because she
Right.
had gone around as soon as she realized I ain't coming back, that she
Mm.
went around to like all of
Yep.
our family,
Hmm.
friends, and all of
Hmm.
that. And I don't know to this day what she told any of them,
Right. Hmm.
but no one reached out to me, like not a single person. Now I'm realizing that that was so good for me because
Good.
if there were any people that were acting like they were still my friends,
Yeah.
I would have vented to them and I probably
Hmm.
would have looked,
Right.
crazy to them or what
Right.
have you.
Right.
But I really attribute it to divine protection that
Yes.
I
Hmm.
was set apart in a way um, that left no doubt that I
Mm.
wasn't crazy.
Right.
It
Right.
just left
Right.
no
Right.
doubt. Like I'm not showing
Right.
up on your doorstep. I'm not
Yep.
calling you, not in
Yep.
my text messages, not
Yep.
in my emails,
Yep.
not in communication,
Yeah.
nothing. I refuse
Yeah.
to fight. I refuse to speak in person.
R-
You email me and stuff like that. Even to the
r-
last day when we were cleaning out our house that we were putting on the market, I don't know what she wanted to do, and I told her what the
Right.
plan was,
Right.
and of course, because I made the plan, she wanted to do something different, but she didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a plan. And
Mm-hmm.
then so I went back and kept working, and she's like, "You're
Right.
gonna ignore me? You're just gonna stop talking like that?" I said, "I already told you what we're gonna
Yeah.
do." So,
Right.
I'm an
Right.
adult, I'm
Yeah.
an adult. And they want that conflict. They want it.
Yeah.
And when you don't give it to them, they have to find other ways to make it seem like you're difficult. But
Yeah. Yeah.
everything that they accuse is a projection of their own actions because they believe that everyone thinks and
Yeah.
functions like them and
Right.
they're just better at doing it than anyone
Right.
else.
Right. And I had to recognize that, like, so much that was going on. Like, if you notice in the beginning, sometimes they'll accuse you of cheating. And I
Mhm,
wasn't paying no attention. I was like,
mhm.
what? Oh, you're cheating with this one, or you're doing, I'm like, no, I'm
She
not. What
put
are
she
you
put
doing?
my email in a whole bunch of dating websites and did like forgot my password to see, if I had accounts. Of course I didn't have accounts. And then that made me think like, why do you think to do that?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Why do you
because,
think to do that?
yeah, it's because they are do, and that's what I had to realize. It's like, wait, it's because you're doing it.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, there was a lot of things that, I realized in the end. I said, from the cheating to, a lot of nasty and cruel things that were going on. Like,
If this podcast speaks to you, if you're on the path of healing, reclaiming your voice, or just trying to piece together who you really are after surviving the unthinkable, I want to invite you into a space where you don't have to do it alone. Join our Facebook group created for survivors, cycle breakers, and people rebuilding themselves from the inside out. In there, we go deeper. Weekly prompts, live streams, raw conversations, and a whole lot of people who just get it. No pretending, no pressure, just truth, growth, and community. Search Rising from the Shadows, The Path to Reclaiming You on Facebook, or hit the link in the show notes to join the community.
one thing that really hurt me is to find out that, she stuck me with rent in the end. She stuck me with rent, and I had tried to get a hold of her. She refused to answer. And then that's when she ran to do the restraining order. Because one, I had told her, I
Mhm.
said, you were really abusive towards me. And soon after, she
It's
ran and
that
got.
word. It's once you say the abusive word, because that's what happened to me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
she ran and got the restraining order, and of which, like, of course, the court threw it out. They threw both of our claims out. Of course, I said, okay, cool, that's fine. As long as nothing is on me, I'm fine. But
Mhm.
when she stuck me with the rent, I had to, we were going through the divorce process. I had to go and fill out all this paperwork, and I'm just like, I would have never did that to her, because during COVID she wasn't working. For
Mhm.
the 2 3 years she wasn't working, I went, did my job, did what I was supposed to do. And of which, if you are not making what they want you to make, they are going to clown you, they're going to talk about you, their families are going to kind of throw out little, nasty things. And it's like, but I'm here, I'm working, your
Mhm.
child is not.
Mhm.
They hide money. At the end of the
Yeah,
divorce,
yeah.
I figured out that she was, and I was
I was
asking
I
her.
was accused during the entire process, not so directly that I was hiding money, and I'm like, what money could I possibly be hiding? We've been taking
Right,
money from your parents to help
right,
us pay our bills, which
right.
leads me to think that they're hiding money.
Yeah,
Which I
yeah,
don't care.
yeah,
But it's just like
yeah.
the accusations are so specific.
Yes,
You
yeah,
know?
right. Because she accused me of financial abuse, and I was like, what are you talking about? I don't have any money over here." And that's when the wheels start turning. It started turning. I'm like, it was her, And as you're
Mhm.
going through, I was going through all the documents for court. I'm looking through the bank accounts, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Wait, I mean, thousands of dollars, thousands, and I'm like, where's that money? Oh, I don't know, I don't know. I mean, it was so bad that we had to go to mediation. Even in mediation, I was ready to just wrap it up and go about my business at that point,
Same.
because I couldn't keep seeing her. I couldn't keep, my nervous system, my anxiety was shooting
Yeah.
through the roof. And of which, I don't want to keep being triggered. The one other thing that I would say to be very careful about, do not, if they are antagonizing you, if they're doing anything, stay please stay away from them. Don't go
Yeah.
after them.
Yeah.
Don't say anything because I
No
had became so
communication, no try
yeah.
to bend things, no higher road, just
Right.
stay away.
Right. Don't, because I had become so angry and so hurt because you're never going to get closure from them.
Right.
My thing was when we were the last and final talk, you're going to be blamed like for everything. Like she apologized, but then she said, then she blamed me. Oh, well, you told everybody. I said, because they should have known what was going on. They're trying to figure out what's going on with me and why were we getting a divorce? And I said, yeah, I did say something. I said, but that's my prerogative. It's my experience with you. So she turned it around on me and then she apologized and she asked to be forgiven. It was too soon to ask to be forgiven, to
Right.
apologize. Um, and then on top of that, the reason why, I guess for the divorce is she said, well, because she didn't want to be married. And I said, so now that's manipulation. Oh, you just didn't want to be married. No, I didn't want to be married from the start. And that's hurtful. That's very, very hurtful to say, oh, well, I just didn't want to. And that was a matter of fact. That was her reasoning and that was it. And she was like, oh, but I told your mom and I told you that I didn't want to get married. I said, you did not say that. You didn't. So you're gonna get lies, you're gonna
Yeah.
get yeah, the manipulation and as if it's your fault and you forced them to get married and you just don't do stuff like that. It's manipulation. You don't abuse anybody. It is not okay. And for those of us that are sharing our experiences, I would say to take from this, you can share your experience. It is
Absolutely.
okay. It is okay. Don't sit in that shame and hurt. I sat in shame and hurt for 2 years. And I was so mentally messed up. I barely eating,
Yeah.
showering. I lost
Mhm.
a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
I've now since gained it, most of it back, but and so I just say take from this, empower yourself, please. Don't let these people think that it is okay what they're doing because it
Yeah.
is not. You don't play with anybody's emotions and oh, I love you and they really don't. It's all for what they can
Yeah.
get. You have to watch from the very beginning how
Yeah.
you're treated and in the end how you're treated. For me, which was the eye opener was that this person had did a lot of putting my health in danger, sleeping around, disrespecting me, not having my back, and in the end to find out that she had pressed charges on me and said that I was harassing her. And it's like, do you remember the things that you did?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
soon as she hadn't even fully left the house yet, before I had kicked her out. And so the harassment started at this year and I'm like, what are you talking about? Do you remember all the things that you did? And so, you're dealing with a bunch of anger, dealing with a bunch of hurt. They're not going to answer your questions. They are
mhm.
not going to give you any kind of closure. They're sorry. I would not even take the word sorry from them because they're not sorry.
They're just
That
sorry
sorry.
they were exposed. That's it.
Yes, yes. And so I went through months of court just for the court to dismiss it. And I remember the lawyer telling me, be careful. These type of people are trouble and to just better yourself
Mhm.
and don't look back and keep just keep moving forward. And she said you'll be all right. So
Yeah.
I took those words, I took the words of my family, I took the situation and I used that as power to say I'm not going to allow somebody to bully me, disrespect me. I mean I can say when I'm wrong,
Mhm.
but I realize, just the things that I went through and the things that these people do is it's not right. I won't say that I was, like I said, I will never say that I was perfect, but I know a lot of my actions or reactions is because I had enough. I
Yeah.
had enough. And the
Well, they
thing.
actually have the term for that, which is reactive abuse, right?
Yes.
Where the perpetrator, in order to spread blame around will
Mm-hmm.
continue to poke and prod
Yeah.
past
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
limit
Yeah.
of self-control,
Right.
and then you react in a way that they can say, see,
Yeah.
it's them, it's them, the
Mm-hmm.
one they're the one that have the problem.
Yeah.
uh, and it's just another way that they can manipulate the legal system,
Yeah.
manipulate the relationships
Yeah.
around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah. And so, for me, it was
I want to
hurtful.
I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk real quick about um you said that watch what was happening in the beginning, watch what's happening at the end. So far, we've talked a lot about what occurs during the discard process, and
Mm-hmm.
for our listeners, the discard process doesn't necessarily mean that they're the one breaking up with you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they will force a discard in order to be able to
Right.
say, I wanted this, I wanted to stay there,
Yeah.
whatever. Then you took
Right.
the action. It's the same thing. I would
Mm-hmm.
like to talk about the beginning.
Right.
Because in retrospect, we can always say, like, oh yeah, that was that red flag. That was that red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you had mentioned something in your questionnaire that in the LGBTQ community, like this is not discussed, you know, a lot at all.
Mm-hmm.
My question
Mm-hmm.
for you, the thought that came up to me is, do you think that the isolation of being a marginalized community makes you a better target for the love bombing and all that things because so many already feel unsafe in the world that we live in?
Um, I I wouldn't say that it's yeah, that would make us like a target. I would mostly say um yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say it would make us a target. I think I don't know. I kind of always I don't know. I don't like to use like labeling and I guess at least for myself
Mhm.
within my sexuality. I would say it's like any other type of like even a heterosexual relationship that you already have like these I guess you already feel maybe in some way that you're not loved
Right, right. So
yeah.
that's what I was getting to. But like for me, I know it was my family of origin that set me up like that.
Yes.
But there's so
Mm-hmm.
many places where you can be rejected, right? You can be
Right.
rejected in your family of origin, you can be rejected in your faith community, you can be rejected in
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
career, you can be
Mm-hmm.
rejected in love.
Right.
Um, and I think all those experiences play a part. If those holes for acceptance
Okay. Mm-hmm.
or dignity aren't filled in any of
Right.
those aspects, if it's important enough for you, you will chase the validation
Got you. Okay.
forward. So
Okay.
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, got
Um,
you. I
but
understand
yeah,
now.
like
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is right. Like it's anyone who feels unworthy in
Yes.
that situation. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
can you talk to me a little bit about what what was the approach and the love bombing, and like what were things done that made you feel like, oh wow, this is my person?
Um, she actually just she came around a lot. Normally, I would date somebody, hang out with them a little bit and and that would be really it. And but with her, she came around a lot. Like she just made a lot of effort in the beginning. She
Hmm.
called, text, hey, can we hang out? Or and just the conversations, with her were, they were really good, family, religion, our interests, our dislikes, it just
All
really
the deep
great. Yeah,
conversations.
very deep stuff. And I was really like, wow, hey, that you don't find really a lot of people that are that in depth with conversation. And the other thing is you have to be careful with the sexual aspect of it because they
Hmm.
will throw that at you at some point in time, and that's how they reel you in even more. And I think that
This might be
clouds.
uncomfortable, but I'd like you to say more about that because I know what you're talking about.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes. So yeah, that's what I was kind of figuring
no,
out. Like,
go ahead
okay.
because like and I think this is interesting. Like obviously I'm a man, right? And
Yes.
so that perception when we talk about love bombing, people always
Hmm.
say like, buying all these expensive
Right,
gifts, flying you out for trips and blah, blah,
right,
blah, blah.
right.
And I don't think there are a lot of conversations around how women show up in this dynamic if
Hmm.
because they're socialized
Right.
our
Hmm.
society, we're just like socialized to play these certain roles, these gender
Right.
roles or what have you. So the
Hmm.
way we are aggressive
Hmm.
looks
Hmm.
different, but it
Right,
all
right.
comes out to the
Hmm.
same. And the sexual manipulation is a real thing. uh
Hmm. Hmm.
it's almost like an audition, for what you
Hmm.
can expect to have, and then
Right,
it
right.
all goes away.
Hmm.
Yeah, tell me
Yeah.
more of what you meant by that.
So, I kind of, at first, we really just would have regular conversations and, of dislikes, whatever, movies, etc. So I started realizing the conversation started, turning a little sexual. So I was like, whatever. And then once we started hanging out, and, I think at one point it's like, oh, hey, it's getting late. I don't know if you're going home. So she's like, oh, no, I'll come home with you. So I was like, "Oh, okay." I already knew exactly, what it was. So I left it at that. But I noticed after that, when they know that they're reeling you in more and
Hmm.
more, they're going
Hmm.
to keep offering and keep giving, sexual things, and that you got to be careful with, because that clouds your judgment. You don't see any of you. You'll see the red flags, but you don't care, because that person is going to keep
Yeah,
throwing sexual things at you. And I was like, for me, I just like, oh, um no, I kind of was like, I was saying to a friend, like, hey, I don't know, these things are really rolling really fast. And she was like, oh, let me guess, is sex involved? And I was like, oh, yeah. And she was like, Amy, she's got you all wrapped up in mind. And at that point, I, I was like, oh, no, 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 I got it under control.
I
No,
was too
because
thirsty to even realize what was happening. I there was no like, this is too fast for me. I was
right,
like, give it
right.
to me all, love
Right,
bombing.
right, and exactly, yeah, that's exactly what was, happening. And it seemed like every single like weekend we would get together, and my mom would knock on the door, or someone, oh, are you coming up for air? And it's like that's all they're giving you, and it's like, what? And I said, I've never been with anyone like this before. And a friend of mine had to tell me, you need to scale it back a little bit. What's that? You're moving a little bit too fast. And so yeah, those are the things you really should, watch out
Yeah.
for. It's like the sexual aspect will come up, right when they know, yeah, that they've got you, and that is what clouds your judgment. And I think at one point when
Especially if
we
you're like starved for touch and all of that.
yeah, yes, yeah, and that's exactly what. And if they know it, they're going to lay it on pretty thick. So, and you got that's the other thing too. You got to be very careful with how much you tell them, because
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, they are at that point. They're sneaky. They know how to reel you in.
yeah.
So, in that sexual aspect, yeah, they know. Actually, it was an argument that we had, and she had said to me, "Oh, well, I know, that I'm good and bad or whatever." And I was like, "How do you know that? We were been together for this many years. How did you know?" So I started
Mhm,
figuring out at that point, yeah,
mhm.
that's because you've been out there cheating.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's like I said, with the red flags, there could be lies from the beginning.
Mhm.
It could be how quickly
And
they
not
say
always directed at you, because in my
yes.
case, I would see how easily she lied about other things, not to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Right.
Uh, and sometimes it
Right.
was jokey, jokey. I'm just
Right.
pretending, blah, blah, blah. It's just a
Right.
joke. But so well, but
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
wasn't directed at me in like
Right.
a malicious way, or even
Right.
directed at anyone else in a
Mm-hmm.
malicious way, just like socially, casually lying, you
Right.
know.
It's yeah.
Um,
It's small
yeah,
lies.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I noticed that as well. So, I think at one point I had asked her, did she mop the kitchen floor? Because I was like, hey, it's sticky. Did you mop it? If not, I'll do it. She's like, oh yeah, I did it. I'm like, no, you didn't. It's all these like little sticky spots, and I was just like. You
Yeah.
notice, yeah, the lies become from little, they become very big lies. And I mean, like I've said, like a monetary gift from the very beginning was the first lie. Forgave it, kept it moving. But they say with that small lie
Yeah.
becomes bigger lies in the end, and lies that, eventually you end up finding out and it ends up hurting you. So
Yeah.
it's a lot
I
of.
suggest not go searching.
Yeah, and that's that
Don't
me.
search.
It's like I'm the like a detective. Like a lot of things that I looked for, I found, and they were hurtful because
Mm,
I found out how much she hated me,
mm,
just from searching, just certain physical features that she didn't like about me. No, it was hurtful, and it's once you start reading those things, they're not going to tell you the truth, because they need
oh,
you,
yeah.
for image, sex, etc. They need you. They are going to use you, con you, and then throw you to the side like you're nothing. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as like the law, I really would just be careful. That is something that I say almost every video, to be careful with the law. They will
Mhm.
try, and I mean my life was almost destroyed because of saying I was harassing her, and it's like, do you remember what you did?
Mm,
And of course, they are going to be vindictive against you if any of what they've done has gotten out. If you have cussed at them, if you have whatever, they are going to hold it against you. In my case, I had to report her brother for and yeah, to be careful with the flying monkeys.
oh yeah.
It got very
Mhm.
ugly with the flying monkeys, which was one of her brothers, and it was all over sending her stuff to her legal address, and you can do that,
Mm,
so I had to take her to court to get those fees anyway. So sending her things through Uber package, and then with her skipping out on the rent, I had all of that documented. And I would say this, please document everything. Any little small thing, document
mhm,
it, because it will be useful in court. I ended up getting the money from the Uber packages because she refused to come get her things.
mm,
And they'll try to say that you refuse to let them, their family. So you have your boundaries. Um, they always expect for you to like just
yeah.
forget about your boundaries, and they
Yeah.
could step on. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that.
that financial thing is a real thing because I remember when I started realizing that this wasn't just a divorce, that
Mm,
there is like real aggression here.
yes.
I
Passive
um
aggressive.
I
Yep.
had switched my direct deposit. I didn't do
Mm,
anything to our
mm,
joint accounts. All the money
hmm.
was there.
Right.
And because from the legal advice that I received was like
Hmm.
change your direct deposit, still take
Hmm.
care of all your joint
Hmm.
responsibilities,
Yes. Hmm.
which I always have above and beyond.
Yes. Right.
And so I did that. And oh, she didn't like that at
Oh, of
all.
course. Hmm. Hmm.
And we were in mediation at that time. The
Yeah.
mediator was clearly biased towards her,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
couldn't even understand like why I would
Mm,
do that.
yeah.
Meanwhile, she was the one with all the resources, like
Yeah.
deep financial resources.
Hmm. Hmm.
To the point
Hmm.
she just bought a house. How did you just
Right.
buy a house with what
Exact.
money?
Exactly.
We
But
know
you.
what money.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I went back. I said, oh, like in good faith, I will change my direct deposit
Yeah.
back to the joint account.
Mm.
Mind you, I don't even know if it was like a week later, she used our joint funds to make a payment on her new credit card that she had opened. But that wasn't
Oh.
the same. She's like, that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
That's, it's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah. It's
so it's
like.
like boundaries
Mm.
for thee,
Yeah.
not for me.
Exactly. So, and that's another thing you'll realize is that, yep, it's a double standard. That's what I'll say. It's a double standard with them. They could do whatever, say whatever, but as soon as nope. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, after discovering all these things, how much she hated me. I mean, you know, deep down inside that these people are using you, they're manipulating you.
Mhm.
and the longer you stay, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
It
just,
must be something with the number 12 because it was 12 years for me too.
yes, yeah. And yep, it seems like the number 5 and 6 are
Yes, 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 yes.
where they change
Even in the
completely.
cycle, like the months, like six
Yes.
months after the last fight, 5 months,
Yep.
6 months after the last fight, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
cyclical. Yeah,
Yeah. And I'm telling you, it was like in the end, I didn't even know that person. And when in
yeah,
reality, when you look, you don't know them because they have a different mask for,
everyone.
everybody that they're interacting with. And, even you'll notice with their family, you could have been helpful, you could have did whatever. They are going to go along with. I remember a police officer telling me, it's their family. They are going to treat you. Their family is going to treat you however they say or whatever they said that
Oh,
they did, that you did, and it's okay. You know the truth, even
yeah,
though it's hurtful. Because at that point, I was like, these people have been in my house.
exactly.
Yeah,
Same.
they've
Yeah.
seen how I've operated. They see, like, but then you realize even the family uses you
It's a
too.
unit. And one of the
Yes.
things I say, if you're listening to this and you've got a story to tell, whether it's your personal story of healing and reclaiming your voice or rising from rock bottom, or you're a professional with powerful insight into trauma, identity, resilience, or transformation, then I want to hear from you. Rising from the Shadows is more than just a podcast. It's a space where truth is honored, power is reclaimed, and stories heal. If you have something to share that could empower others to stop shrinking and start rising, I'd love for you to apply to be a guest on the show. Just head to tellmystory.risingfromtheshadows.com to submit your application. Let's rise together, one voice, one breakthrough, one story at a time. I was talking to my therapist yesterday,
Yeah.
and I told her, I was like, I was telling her, like, I'm actually not even, I don't have any more like anger towards her. And it was like the
Right.
reason being, and I was like, I never actually had anger towards her because
Mm.
I knew how, um, kind of spineless she was, right? And couldn't do anything for herself. So for
Yes.
me, knowing what I've been through and how I've
Hmm.
pulled myself through a lot of dark situations, I
Yeah.
have a lot of confidence in what I can do when I have
Mm-hmm.
nothing. So to
Right.
me, that wasn't like a threat of whatever. My
Right.
issue was with the enablers.
Yeah.
Uh, and and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and and specifically this in the family unit. And I
Right.
told my therapist, like, you cannot convince me that this is the first time they've seen her act like this.
Right.
You cannot
Right.
convince me that they've never been manipulated by her or lied by her or her try to twist a situation to get out of trouble or da
Right.
da 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 da. You
Right.
cannot convince me this is the only time they've seen it,
Right.
because it's
Right.
pathological. They can't
Y-
stop. They
Right.
can't
Right.
stop.
Right. And you can't tell me that either. I mean, I remember the my ex-mother-in-law saying to me, "Oh, I didn't raise her like that." And
I
I was
think you did.
yeah, I sat there and I looked at the phone. And I'm like, that's a bunch of you know what. And I just, I didn't say it to her. I just said, I mean, you can't tell me like, and that's what, you're right. You can't tell me this is like the first time that this person has done something like
As
this. And
practiced as they are.
right, exactly. I mean, a great actor and the crying
So,
on
whoa.
cue like
On
that.
cue. Can I tell you
Yeah,
something? Let me tell you something about this crying.
mm,
Um, at our wedding, at the birth
mm,
of our children,
mm,
graduation, like
right.
kindergarten graduation, and all
Hmm.
of that. I'm
Hmm.
an emotional person. I
Yeah,
cried at
that's okay.
every single one of those events.
Yeah.
They
Hmm.
never cried at
Nope.
any one of those events. But
Hmm.
somehow, in mediation sessions, the cries come up, and
Yeah. Yeah.
tears and
Yeah.
tears and tears and
Yeah.
tears. It's like,
Mm.
what the hell is going on
Right.
here?
Right. And I felt the same way too. I'm like, wait, this is not, I could not believe it. The amount, like the crying. Like one day we were in the room, and I'm sitting there, and I mean, I was just crying and crying, about everything, the relationship. And she starts crying, and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna be all right." And that's when saw like a different look on her face,
Yeah.
like, and I'm like,
It's
and
like the is this working? Look.
yeah, and it scared me, and I immediately stopped crying, and I was like, you know what? And I got up as something I knew wasn't right. And
Yeah.
then again after court, for the divorce, we were sitting somewhere, and she was trying to talk to me, and she started crying, but it's weird because whatever she was trying to say, I did not hear it. And I was saying this on one of my videos. I don't know. I believe it was God to not allow me to hear
Mm.
it, because afterwards, like, I guess she noticed it wasn't working. And then I didn't hear it anyway. So I don't know what it was. She stopped crying, and then she was like really like nasty and passive aggressive,
Yeah.
because in the past, her crying, like, oh, okay, okay, hon, I don't want you to
Yeah.
cry. But now it was just like, I didn't,
When
maybe
you're
I just,
able to look in detachment at what's going on around you.
right, right. And I think that's probably what it was. And it didn't work. And because I know that she had, previous to this in court, she was trying to get me to sign the divorce papers right away. And I was like, no, not until this and this and this is, rightfully done correctly. And so, of course she had gotten upset about that, but you got to be careful with the
Yeah.
crocodile tears,
Yeah.
because, yeah, I mean, and I just cannot emphasize enough to protect yourself with these
Yeah.
people.
And this
Yeah.
is another factor which we do not have time to go over.
Right.
For me, it was an interracial relationship.
Mm,
So there was an extra sense of fear that I felt
mm,
um, because of who was crying.
mm. Gotcha. Mhm.
And that was definitely one of the things that had me needing to be on medication because it's like, I'm not an idiot. I
Right.
know what happens when white women cry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand.
Um,
Yeah,
and so that
yeah.
was like a really gripping fear.
Mm,
And that,
mm,
those of my listeners that are black men, you'll
mhm,
know what I'm talking about. But for
mm.
others, they just won't know. You just won't know.
Yeah,
But it's like a
yeah.
real, I mean, we
Mm,
know historically people have been lynched. People have,
mm, mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No,
it
I
was a
get
real
it.
thing. But
Yeah,
thankfully, oh,
yeah.
go ahead,
Mm.
Amy.
No, you just made me think about something, because um being in the community, um the person that I was with looks more feminine. I look more
Mm,
male-ish, even though it's like,
mhm.
I know I'm a woman. I was looked at as the aggressor.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was looked at as, well, I didn't, how is she that way? I didn't. And it's like, just because I am more of the vocal one, just because I am more, maybe more masculine one, which hurt even more, doesn't mean that I did not go through what I went through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess our situations are kind of this,
No, it's
yeah,
very
yeah,
we're talking about privilege and power
yes,
dynamics.
yes,
And
yeah,
it goes into every sector. Like
okay.
obviously, black men deal
Mm-hmm.
with less power than white men. Uh,
Yes.
and in some situations, maybe white women, but not when it
Hmm.
comes to protection, right? And then
Right,
it just
right,
goes down and goes down, like depending on
right.
like powers afforded
Got
uh,
you.
to
Hmm.
you by society. So no, that totally makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
Right.
Uh, we do have to
It's
wrap it up, and
yes.
I would be remiss if we didn't talk about reclaiming power because
Okay.
we know
Mhm.
that it's not just about taking control, but rediscovering the parts of ourselves we thought were lost. What
Right.
actions did you take throughout the years that you were starting your healing more actively to rebuild your sense of self and create a space where you felt safe and grounded?
Therapy, most importantly, that is something I think that everybody, needs to look into. There's a lot of different types of therapy. So that was one. Does not mean that you're crazy. That was hard for me because I
Mhm.
was, this is one thing that you have to be careful of. Do not tell them that you are going to therapy, because
Yeah.
they will use it against you and weaponize it and say that, oh, look, see, they are crazy. They need to. But when in reality, you are trying to understand what you went through,
Yeah.
and so you're not crazy. So therapy, going to the gym,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I've tried to lock more into that. Surrounding yourself, recognizing who is safe to talk to, who is safe to be around, and who is not. And it can even be your own family that is
Oh,
not safe.
yeah. Yeah.
So I had to
Often it
recognize that.
is.
Yes, yes. I had to recognize that and create a safe space for myself. And just more sitting back and taking accountability for the things and parts that I took in the relationship,
Mhm.
and just focusing more on up, like, I guess I would say the glow up, of myself, the build up, and knowing, hey, you know what, I am not, what these people are saying that I am. And you have to each and every day just empower yourself, even just give yourself grace, even on a hard days. Some days are not always easy for me,
Yeah.
but I take a step back, and then I collect myself, and then try to move forward, doing things that you didn't get to do once before. You might, those are museums, or going out to the
Mhm.
movies, or
Mhm.
just a step, at a time, to say, hey, I got this. This is my journey now. And so that's something that I've done. Just I've taken everything that has tore me down. I've taken that as power to say, no, that is not who I am. That what I went through was hurtful, was painful, tried to destroy me. I got this. And each and every day, just we really just got to take those active steps. We can't, I mean, some days we might want to wallow in it, but that's not good, because it's going to turn into 2, 3, 4, 5 days. And that was me. It's like, oh, I took this one day to wallow in what I went through. No, you got to pick yourself up. And even if it's to go outside and take walks, and that's another thing that I did as well. Just got myself up, put my sneakers on, whatever, and went out and took walks. And being by yourself actually is it'll it's okay to be by yourself. You don't have to be jump into another relationship to
Oh, yeah, for
feel
sure.
heal, feel better. No, you don't have to, because just because you see the person that you were with somebody else, they're not healed, and they, unfortunately, they will never be healed. So it's just actively, a little bit at a time, doing the things that you enjoy doing. But most importantly, like, I think counseling or therapy is the best bet, to help you understand what you've been through. And TikTok, actually, you could do a lot of research, listening to other people's, like,
That's
what
what
they've
saved
been
me.
through.
That's
Yeah,
what saved
yes,
me. I started
same.
listening to a whole bunch of women's stories that
Yeah,
reflected the exact same thing that was
yeah,
happening to me.
yeah.
And I was able to, very easily
Right,
be like, oh, wow, this shouldn't be happening to you. This is abuse. And it's like, but wait, this is happening to me.
right,
And so that is what kind of like snapped me out of the incongruence of like, me just going through a hard time versus a very intentional destruction of your
right.
psyche.
Right. And so, yeah, and that's the thing. TikTok, I would most certainly say, saved. I didn't know what I was going through,
Yeah.
and at that time, I had been in therapy. At that time, probably about a year, and I still didn't know what I was going through. The only thing I knew, it was very traumatic what I went
Mhm.
through. So, and just really, just I would just say, just building upon, just building yourself, understanding. I've been saying this lately. Research
Yeah.
what you went through. You don't have to let a therapist or a counselor tell you research. There's so many resources now to, so that we'll know what we're going through. And I know what I went through. I can't exactly say on here what I went through, but
Right.
what I went through was, I can't label what that person, has
Mhm.
done. So, legal reasons. But yeah, anyway, so it's just,
Yeah.
you got to take it a day at a time, and just know, every day is not always going to be okay, but, and then also keep faith also, whoever you believe in, just keep the faith. And that's something that has helped me a lot. So prayer. So, but yeah,
Well,
so
Amy, thank you so much for sharing your story.
yeah.
Our listeners are walking away with so much insight and I know inspiration. I'm trying to remember the creator that talks about healing out loud. We got to do it because
Yes. Hmm.
none of the stuff that's happening to us, unfortunately, it's not unique. Like,
No,
we're
no,
saying
right.
things and I'm like, oh yeah, they use those exact same words that
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
have. It's not
Yeah.
unique. And a lot of people are isolated from others going through the same things. So I feel
Hmm.
like it
Hmm.
is our response, our duty,
Yeah. Yeah.
almost like spiritual duty to like hold a hand out for other people. So
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
thankful that you came on. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you? Because I love your videos,
Thank
and
you.
it
Thank
just
you.
really poignant. Where can they find
Thank you. I am on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. I'll probably have to shoot over to you those handles
you?
so
Sure.
you could, because I don't remember. I got three different ones and I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Once we
So
get it, we'll put it in the show notes.
yeah, yeah, I'll definitely shoot those over to you. But thank you so much, Marlon, for having me and allowing me to express and share my, journey. And I look forward to, working with you on other things as well. So
Thank you.
anyone that has any questions, please, I'm more than happy to answer them. And once again, thank you so much, Marlon.
If you're an event organizer, HR leader, or educator looking to bring a powerful voice to your stage, someone who speaks truth, ignites momentum, and empowers your audience to rise above what's held them back, then I want to talk to you. My keynote, Rising from the Shadows, is more than a talk. It's a transformative experience that shows people how to stop shrinking, start healing, and stand fully in their story. I've lived it, I teach it, I walk people through it. So if you're building a lineup of speakers who don't just talk but move people, head over to marlonwesh.com to create something unforgettable for your audience. If this episode or any other episode resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode or event. Until next time, live the life you want to live and live it on your own terms.